Catastrophic building collapse in Bangkok. Dozens dead and hundreds trapped as earthquake devastates Thailand. A nightmare unfolds in the heart of Bangkok. Bangkok, the bustling capital of Thailand, was thrown into chaos on March 28, 2025, when a 30-story high-rise under construction collapsed, burying hundreds of workers under tons of concrete and steel. The disaster struck following a massive 7.7 magnitude earthquake, which rocked the region and sent shockwaves of destruction across Southeast Asia. The city's skyline, once a symbol of modernity and progress, was suddenly marred by a mountain of rubble, where desperate cries for help could be heard from beneath the debris. The scene was apocalyptic. Dust clouds rose into the sky, panicked residents ran through the streets, and emergency sirens blared through the chaos. Authorities fear the death toll could rise into the hundreds, making this one of Thailand's deadliest disasters in decades. The moment of collapse. IT fell like a house of cards. At 2:35 p.m. local time, as Bangkok's workers were going about their day, a violent tremor rippled through the city. Within moments, a massive 30-story government office tower under construction in the Catastrophic district began to shake uncontrollably. Eyewitnesses describe horrifying scenes as the skyscraper buckled under its own weight. The glass windows exploded outward, and entire floors crumbled in an instant. It was like watching a nightmare unfold before my eyes, said Samchai Watanakul, a construction worker who miraculously escaped. The ground shook violently, and then boom, everything collapsed. My friends, they were inside. I don't know if they're alive. The collapse sent a shockwave of fear through the city, with residents in nearby buildings fleeing in terror. Witnesses reported cars being crushed under falling debris, power lines snapping, and fires breaking out in the wreckage. A city in panic, Bangkok declared a disaster zone. Within minutes of the disaster, Bangkok was plunged into a state of emergency. Authorities evacuated thousands from surrounding high-rises, fearing more buildings could collapse. "We are dealing with an unprecedented catastrophe," said Bangkok Governor Chadchart Sinamonth. "Our top priority is rescuing those still alive and preventing further casualties." As night fell, rescue teams, soldiers, and volunteers swarmed the scene, using cranes, excavators, and even their bare hands to search for survivors. But the situation grew even more dire as aftershocks rocked the city, making the unstable wreckage too dangerous for rescuers to enter. "We can hear voices," said rescue worker Anan Precha, "but we can't reach them. The structure is still shifting. It's a race against time." Authorities warned that the number of dead and missing could skyrocket in the coming hours. Horror stories from the rubble. "We are still alive. Help US." As emergency responders battled the wreckage, shocking stories of survival emerged. Trapped for 12 hours, a 23-year-old construction worker, bleeding and covered in dust, sent a final voice message to his mother before his phone battery died. "I can hear them searching, but I don't know if they'll reach me in time." The hero dog. A sniffer dog named Chakti located 3 workers buried deep in the rubble. Rescuers pulled them out alive as the crowd erupted in cheers. A desperate plea. A mother of 2, trapped on the 15th floor, sent a text to her husband. "I'm still breathing. Don't let them stop searching." But for every miracle rescue, there were heartbreaking losses. One survivor described seeing his best friend crushed before his eyes, unable to do anything as the concrete caved in. "I can still hear the screaming in my head," he said, his voice shaking. What caused the collapse? Questions rise about safety standards. As the dust settles, serious questions are being raised about the structural integrity of the collapsed building. Was the construction rushed? Did the developers cut corners? Were earthquake-resistant measures ignored? Some experts believe the quake alone wasn't enough to bring down a 30-story building, suggesting poor construction practices may have played a role. "This should not have happened," said Professor Thanaporn Visith, a structural engineer. "Buildings in Bangkok are designed to withstand moderate earthquakes. If it collapsed this easily, something was seriously wrong with its design or materials." Authorities have launched an investigation into the construction company, which has faced previous allegations of safety violations. If negligence is found, legal experts warn that criminal charges could be filed against developers, engineers, and government officials responsible for approving the project. Aftermath: the road to recovery. As the death toll climbs, Bangkok is struggling to cope with the aftermath of this tragedy. Hospitals overwhelmed. Medical facilities are overflowing with the injured, many in critical condition. Hundreds still missing. Families are desperately searching for loved ones, clinging to hope. Citywide inspections. The government has ordered urgent structural checks on all high-rise buildings in Bangkok. In the coming weeks, Thailand will face tough questions about building safety, urban planning, and disaster preparedness. We must learn from this tragedy, said Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra. We owe it to those we lost, and to those who are still fighting to survive. A final note: a city mourns, a country unites. In the wake of the disaster, Bangkok has come together in an outpouring of grief and solidarity. Candlelight vigils have been held across the city for the victims. Volunteers have flooded hospitals, donating blood for the injured. International aid is pouring in from countries around the world. This heartbreaking tragedy has left scars on Thailand that will never fully heal. But as rescue teams continue their desperate search, and as survivors cling to hope, one thing is certain: